Hi, welcome to Toast Time. I'm Cassandra, and this week I'm making sangok, which is from Persia. It's a flatbread, and what's really cool about this one is it is cooked on stones that are hot. I have a cast iron skillet here and my stones, which I washed thoroughly. This is supposed to really be kind of those black pond stones, but I was running out of time and I got these. The tale goes that the Persian army, that each person, each soldier would carry 2 to 3 stones in their pocket, so it wasn't overwhelming for them and heavy. And then when night came, they would all put their stones into a pile and they would build the fire there and cook their bread on that. And then the morning after, when it had cooled, they would take their 2 or 3 stones and continue on. I thought that was a really cool story. This is pretty simple. It is a sourdough recipe. There's flour, all-purpose flour here, salt, water, sesame seeds are optional. I'm going to be doing some with and some without because my husband and I really like sesame seeds, but the kids tolerate sesame seeds. I don't want them to have to do that. I'm going to make both versions. This is some yogurt. There's olive oil, and last night I fed my starter. I used my normal sourdough starter. I used Mama, and I fed it with the whole wheat flour. Technically, you can have a whole wheat starter, but even just doing a feed with the whole wheat flour changes the texture, the bacteria, all the elements of the sourdough. So I just kind of did the one feed last night so it could bubble up overnight. And I think you can probably see it, unfortunately, but there are nice bubbles in here. It's ready to go right now. And I'm going to put all the ingredients except the salt into the flour. Put the salt aside. Going to do the water, yogurt, carefully do the olive oil. There we go. All of the leavener, which is the starter. Okay. And I believe that is everything. This is one that they say you mix by hand. I think that's traditional. Oh, I will go ahead with that. Just mixing it together. I'm not putting my hand fully in because it's obviously going to be wet and sticky. I don't want to get my whole hand wet and be wasting that dough when I have to wash it off. This. All right. Next, it's going to get covered and sit for about 20 minutes. Then the salt will go in. This is going to sit for a few minutes, 20 actually, and then we'll be ready to put in the salt. I'm going to get as much of this off of my hands as I can. All right. And I have one of my shower caps here. Put it over the bowl and let that sit. All right, 20 minutes is up, and I'm going to add in the salt. My hand is wet because this is going to be a pretty sticky dough, and we don't want it sticking to us too much. And this is going to help dissolve the salt also. Pouring the salt, I'm going to sprinkle it over the whole top of this so it doesn't kind of sit in a mound. And then just going to get in there. Start pulling it over itself like this. You need to get your hand wet again, you can do that. But you want to do this until it basically you don't feel the salt anymore. You want it to dissolve into the dough. And this is also going to help to knead the dough. And make sure all the salt is picked up from the sides of the bowl. I'm just kind of running this around the sides. All right. And I'm going to keep doing this for a few minutes, just kind of pulling it and stretching it over itself a bit. All right, I've reached the point of no more grains that I can feel of the salt in there. And we're going to cover this up and let it sit for 20 minutes. All right, I used that time to tidy up the workspace. I'm going to take this and we're going to grab the sides of it and pull it over onto itself in the middle. Do that all the way around. And you're going to feel the dough get tighter and the gluten is going to be forming a lot more. It'll get tight and then we let it rest for another 20 minutes. We do that 3 more times with a 20-minute rest in between each one. And then we can move on to the proving step where it sits for about 2 to 4 hours, basically until it's doubled in size. I'm nearing the end of the rise time, so I'm going to start prepping everything for baking. First, I'm going to put the stones into the cast iron pan and spread them out. You only need a single layer. I'm not trying to get a thick layer of these stones or anything like that. It's just so that they have that texturing. All right, I'm going to take this and put it in the oven, which I will now preheat to 450. That cast iron pan is on top of the baking stone, and that's going to help it have a more even heat throughout as well. This is supposed to be a half sheet pan. I'm going to do 2 smaller batches because I'm not doing it on a large pan, and I want to do 2 because I'm doing one with sesame seeds, one without. I'm taking a little bit of spray and a little bit of water. This is going to wait for us now until it is ready to go. And this has puffed up. It's almost double now and a lot softer. All right. I have my sesame seeds at the ready. I'm going to do the one without first in case there's something that I need to understand, and I won't be able to see the surface of it as well through the sesame seeds. And I want to kind of learn how this works. This is my first time doing this. It seems like this next part kind of has to go quickly. I'm going to prep this. Now it's all nice and puffy. I'm going to carefully take it out of here. Okay. And divide it in half, which this isn't in the recipe, but again, I want to be doing one with sesame, one without. As I'm stretching this out, I need to keep in mind I'm doing it in a round pan and not on something of a similar size and shape to this. That being said, I want to have it as more of a circle. This is a flatbread, so mushing it out a bit is fine. But I don't want these thick edges and these thin centers. You have to be careful with it in that regard. Not to stretch the center too much when you're trying to get the edges to be thinner. I'm going to try and slide it onto those stones. They've preheated up to the 450 now. Ooh, very hot. I'm going to bring them out just in case I could hurt something, which I think I easily could with this. And this slides a little bit, and that's why we did the oil and the water, but I think I'm just going to go for it. Have a nice sizzle. I'm trying to spread this out without touching any of the rocks. It's getting a couple of holes in it. That's all right, I think. and I'll put it in. This is gonna bake for 10 to 15 minutes. I'm gonna watch it until it gets kind of a light brown on top, and we'll see how it goes. It's been 11 minutes. I'm gonna check it. It looks pretty. All right, here. Oh, it's hot. Okay. Here's the bread. I'm going to get some tongs to lift it out of here. And some of the rock stick, that's okay. Just try and shake them off. And if you need to, get a spoon and get the rest of them off. There might be a couple remaining, but when you flip it over, you can use the tongs to get them off of there. I'm just getting the ones that are easy. All right. Here it is. I'm gonna lay it on the counter and remove the rest of the stones. Put them back in here because we're doing another round. And check thoroughly in case you had any small stones in there. You want to make sure no the stones are left there because that will not be great for anyone who's eating this. All right. It looks great. Nice coloring. Here, yeah, I hear a little bit of crispy. Very pretty. I'm going to let it cool down while I set up this one. And then we can do a taste test. All right, the stones stuck a lot more on the back of the sesame seed one. I'll show you. I've gotten a few of them off, but they're kind of all over the place on this one. And coming off slowly. Okay, I'm gonna let this cool a little bit while I do the taste test. So I'm gonna try this one here. Nice and cool now. And this is a nice crispy bubble. The back, you can see where the stones got hot in the oven and it cooked and browned the bread. Ooh, nice sound. Okay. So there are two different types of pieces here. There's the really thin where it started tearing and having holes, and then there's the thicker area here. I'm going to try both of them separately. Try the thin one first. It's a great cracker. Yeah, the flavor is very mellow. There's not much. The whole wheat comes through after a few times chewing it. But again, that was just a little bit when you're feeding the sourdough. Yeah, it has waves of flavor. I'm going to try the softer part now. It's nice texture. The flavor is bolder in this area. The texture is really fun here. I really like this. I'm not the biggest fan of all whole wheat flour. The flavor is really nice when you kind of cut it. So this is perfect to me. Salt is right on too. This is great. Highly recommend. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you like the videos, please like, subscribe, follow, comment, all of that. I love reading your comments, and I try to get back to everybody. Have a great week, and I will see you next toast time.